Hello and welcome everybody to the Arc of War channel. I am Gingo and I will be talking about the new update today, of course. And there will be a lot of other videos coming in the next few days to this topic, I know. And my take on this topic is just talking about the new update from a T9 and T10 player perspective, because that's where I'm at right now. And I also do have a lot of experience in T9 and T10 combat. I am doing a lot of PvP in capital battles or on the server in general, so I do know a little bit about combat. So yeah, let's get right into it. So to begin with this video, we will talk about the update itself, or at least the most important features about the plugins, the brain plugins for our commanders, because our main commander has 3 skills right now, and a lot of his gameplay is defined by these skills. Like Elf is a tanky commander because she has a heal and she has a HP based damage skill. You know what I mean? And now with this slot we can add even more utility to our commander. We can add a skill from the shop. It's not, I think it's not every skill, or is it? I don't know, but it's quite a majority of the bigger and better skills in this game. And we can access the shop of these skills over at our warp gate. Here we can see all the skills that we can unlock. In the shop we can later unlock these, but it's closed till Saturday, I think, after the Galactic Campaign finals have ended. So what we're gonna do now is we keep in mind that we're using T9, so T9 has a subclass. Every T9 has like a subclass that can use the skills of that subclass and also the main skill that class has. So for example, walkers have an infantry subclass. So I will mention some builds or some commanders other than the main class that the skill supports. So if we look at the special category for walkers, we have obviously walker skills. So if you're a T12 player, you can only use those on your commanders. But with the T9, we can also use infantry skills on our walkers. And for infantry, that's airship subskills, and for airships, that's walker subskills. So let's get right into it. We start with the walker skills because I'm a walker main, and that's like the things I know best. So to start with it, we look at the probably most broken combo out of this whole patch. That's Steam Cannon with Elf. And what Steam Cannon allows Elf to do, remember the skill that you unlock can only be level to level 30. That is for all skills. So the skills itself have to bring a little bit of utility or uniqueness with them to use them effectively, even without upgrading them much. So with level 30, this Steam Cannon is probably as effective as with level 1 if you consider using it on Elf, because it clears all enemy buffs from the enemy's soldiers. So for example, if you have Rogers, he goes immune with defensive stance. This skill allows you to just remove the defensive stance as a whole. So basically, this Steam Cannon counters Rogers as a whole, and that means Alf is going to be an effective Rogers killer, just like Full Metal was before. And now you can use that with Elf. So basically, Elf just got a huge buff out of this. And yeah, we will see how it plays out, but I probably think this will be the thing that most Walker mains put on the main commander. That this works on Pictor too, fine, just fine. And there's some other commanders that can use it as well. It's just like Cetalia, for example, but she has still some problems with scaling on her abilities, so probably not. But yeah, keep kept an eye out for Steam Cannon on Elf, and since it's a walker skill, you can also use it with airship commanders, just like Reinhardt. He can use it as effectively as Elf can, basically. So keep that in mind. Steam Cannon is the most broken out of all. Then for the next part we have Sonar. This can be used by a lot of commanders, just like Full Metal, Hancock, Hoodoo, Rock, and for airships Black, because all of these commanders lack guaranteed hit skills, and Sonar can compensate for that because it has to only trigger once for the complete troop stacks as a whole have guaranteed hits. So the last ability we will talk about in the Walker class is the Hancock ability, the Feral Strength. One of the newest additions to our roster, Hancock, and he is very strong in certain matchups. And that's thanks to his skill that you can actually buy here. It's on the normal even. Yeah, here it is. So basically what this does is, as long as the match goes and the more he triggers it, the less damage the enemy troops deal to you and the more damage they take from you. So basically what this does is, just longer the match goes, the harder it is to beat, and at a certain point it becomes impossible to beat because he will just one-shot you because your defense is in the negative. And this will be very useful for Elf, but also in the airship class it can be used by Rogers or Reinhardt, and also very defensive commanders can use the skill as a whole. That was one of Hancock's biggest weaknesses, because he had to survive for his Feral Strength to trigger over and over again to make his enemy weaker. But with Elf you have the heal. You can always stay in fight with the heal. That was Elf's main trait. And now that you can use Feral Strength even with, for example, Elf, even to level 30, it has a 1.5% scaling, so it scales pretty well. It needs to trigger a little bit more often, but yeah, you get the idea. This is very strong. So yeah, I think we're through with walkers, and now let's have a look at the infantry class, because there's quite some skills here that everybody would like to use on their commanders, even though they can't. And I'm glad that T9 has a infantry subclass, because there is a lot of utility spells we can use here. I think infantry has probably the most utility in the class than yeah, out of all the three classes we have. And of course the first thing we're gonna talk about is Wings of Eternity, because literally I think every commander in the game can use this and would be better. And let me tell you why. Because this skill is like utility in capital letters. It's what it does is basically just have a 60% chance to go again. And what commander wouldn't like to do that? Because, I mean, Vega, if he gets to go again, he can trigger another breakdown. If Elf triggers again, she can use another curse and do a funny stacked up curse maybe. Yeah, pretty much everybody can use this. And the biggest ones, I think, or the most important or most dangerous commander with this skill must be Hancock. Because Hancock has the ability to trigger his Feral Strength over and over again with Wings of Eternity. And basically, yeah, I mean, Hancock goes once, has the chance to trigger Feral Strength 5 times in a row. And he normally doesn't do that, obviously. So yeah, I think Hancock might be the strongest one to use this, but Hoodoo, Elf, King, and literally every other infantry commander can use this effectively. So yeah, Wings is probably the best skill you can pick up from the infantry class. But also Sleep Bomb is a pretty good spell. It is already available through a gem set, but the trick here is that we have a 60% trigger chance. That's the biggest difference. And also with this, You can use this with level 1, and it wouldn't be that bad to keep it at level 1, if you know what I mean. I don't know what the upgrade prices are, but it will do the trick at level 1. Because the main thing that it does is make opponents skip actions, and as with Wings of Eternity, pretty much everybody can use this. Who wouldn't want their opponent to skip an action at the 60% chance? So yeah, I don't know, I haven't thought about who can use this the best, but I think, yeah, we can discuss that in comments later. But I think Sleep Up is probably the best utility spell, well, one of the best utility spells. And the last thing I want to talk about is Counter Move, because it's one of the newer skills that got added to the game with the addition of Barbarian. And I think it is a scaling skill, and it is 1% only per level, so it can go to 30% maximum, but if you really receive a lot of damage, that probably is enough to do the trick. What it does is 40% chance to trigger, and you are damage immune for the first damage you would receive, and do a little portion of that damage back to the enemy who attacks you. So, pretty good skill. And even at level 30 or 30%, I think it's still a good skill. And who can use this? I think from the infantry class, probably Plasma can use this the best. Correct me if I'm wrong here, but Plasma can appreciate getting free damage off, because Plasma is only there for doing damage. I guess Counter Move is good for Plasma, but that's just my opinion. And of course, Elf, Hancock, or the tanky commanders, they can use it as well. Just because they are damage immune for one round. Yeah, so now we are done with infantry. Let's move to our last class, the airships. And with airships, I found it to be a little tricky to find utility spells, if you know what I mean. Like defensive stance, if you get that to level 30, it's a 15% damage reduction. That's not, it's not that useful, if you know what I mean. So I don't get too excited about these skills, but for example, hyperspace armor does a lot of damage already level 1. I think the only thing that does get improved by leveling this up is the damage reduction, the 0.3%, and that will not be huge at level 30, but the main thing you're concerned about when you pick up the skill is the Thorns damage anyway. Because if you use this on Rogers, for example, Rogers will want this 100%. I think every major T12 player will run hyperspace armor on their Rogers eventually, because it does do quite a lot of damage, not reduced by defense or HP, bonus HP or bonus defense you build. So, and it does ignore like Rogers' defensive stance. That's why Reinhardt is such a good Rogers counter. Just a great skill of overall, and you can use this on infantry if you want to, like Tank Stella build, or Hubarian can use this as well as Plasma. But yeah, mainly you want this for Rogers, that's for sure. And then there's another skill in the airship class that may be a little bit controversial, and most of the bigger guys might not think as I do. But I think Shockwave can be a good skill to pick up for your airship commanders, just because basically what it does is, if you are lucky and trigger the skill, and then trigger all your gems, and then your main damage skill with Dragon Slayer, for example, you do that damage to the target, and then a portion of that damage to all targets with yeah, 30% portion if you take this for your other commanders. But that still is a lot of damage, and I think still has a place where you can use it. For example, Vega does huge amounts of damage with one breakdown, and even reflecting only 30% of that. If you one-shots you probably get one-shot even with this 30%. If not, you get whittled down a lot. So Shockwave is definitely a skill that I probably would pick up for your main damage comms, being Vega, Golem, Nico, and Gilly. And then there's the last skill I want to talk about. Of course, people already knew this was coming if they know me, because I hate the skill Breakdown. It's the best skill in the game, in my opinion. What it does is guaranteed hit skill 40% with 2% per level defense buff ignoring. So basically it's penetration gear, but on a skill set, on a skill. And even at level 30, this is 60% penetration. 60% penetration gear for free on one of the skills. I think this is a huge thing to pick up for example, Dragon Slayer or Golem, or even Reinhardt or Rogers if you want to get freaky, or Stella or Nikojiro. Those are commanders that could all use this skill. I think 60% penetration gear on one of the skills. That's yeah, a good thing to have in your main commander with a lot of damage gear. So I think I'm pretty much done here with my part, but that doesn't mean this party is over, because as you probably know, I'm not the biggest brain in the world, and there's a lot of you guys out there that have your own opinions and own suggestions on this topic. And I would like to see a healthy discussion down in the comments below. What are your favorite combos of skills? Because we have a lot of combos on our hands here. We're talking about 50 skills for each troop type, or something like that. I mean, it's quite a lot of possibilities you can use. And I probably forgot about some utility spells for the airship class that can be used very good on the top tier commanders. You guys let me know, because yeah, this is a community channel. Let's get this community going, and let's have a discussion in the comments. That's it from me. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to the channel, and also if you would like to see more content, subscribe to my own YouTube channel. That's Gingo. I'll probably be down in the comments if you don't find me. And yeah, have a good one.